Okay, guys, can we please have a big hand for Mr. Divine Mahara?
Lickly, 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 bum, bum. Shooby dooby 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 dub dub. I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift. Lickly, 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 bum, bum. Shooby dooby 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 dub dub. I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift. Konna munda na utum dada. Chanda guta malita mabada. Chanda bita maglina madama mafidna malipum the bun after a one, a two, a three, a gaza. Lickly, 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 bum bum. Shooby dooby 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 dub dub. I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift. Lickly, 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 bum bum. Shooby dooby 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 dub dub. I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift, I say heavy shift. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Divine. And welcome everybody here tonight, and welcome to everybody joining us on the live stream. It's good to have everyone patching in from around the world and all the various channels. And thank you to our two amazing speakers tonight for joining us in a beautiful winter's evening in Cape Town. Can we give our speakers a warm welcome? And welcome to all of you guys as well. Thank you for making the time and the intent to come and join this amazing community, this very inspiring and empowering community of entrepreneurs. I just want to quickly introduce myself. I'm Fred Rode, the co-founder and CEO of Heavy Chef, and this is such a privilege to do what I do together with this amazing team. Randall and Siyabongo here. We've got a whole bunch of people patching in online from all over our remote locations around the world. So hola to the Heavy Chef crew. And also, I think before we start, just, first of all, just to elaborate, the whole point of Heavy Chef is really about inspiring and empowering entrepreneurs. We want to inspire people to start businesses because we believe that that's really important and that entrepreneurs can change the world for the better. And then through events like these, through our learning platform at heavychef.com, through all the learning bites. I mean, we created over 1,500 learning bites in 1 year since we launched in February last year the learning platform. We want to empower people to succeed along the way. And before we get on to the actual event and talk about the topic tonight of finance and cash flow, we're trying to make that topic really sexy. So our two guests wore their best outfits tonight, and we're bringing it. We're going to talk this topic up. It is a tricky topic, so we are going to lean into the hard questions and I think some of the difficult questions, and also have some fun with it. I mean, I think there's a lot of creativity and I think inspiration within this topic as well. Lots of great stories that we've heard, certainly in the two recipes that have been served up by Andrea and Uwais. So if you haven't seen those recipes yet, go and have a look on heavychef.com. Talking about finance, talking about reporting, talking about metrics, talking about cash flow, and just some of the most important things within a business, within a startup, within a company, within any organization, in fact. I just want to say massive thanks to our core partners, to Payfast, and we got Crystal and Lukman here. The freaking Payfast, massive. Two very beautiful individuals who, please, if you do get a chance, go and say hi afterwards. And also to Zero. I'd invited Colin and Shane to patch in tonight, so hopefully you guys are watching. it is just such a privilege to have Zero and PayFast as our partners, just supporting us right from the start and just believing in this amazing mission that we're on to inspire and empower entrepreneurs. Tonight, a quick just little side note, just to say thank you to Kate Black of Grumpy Snacks. So the snacks that we all tucked out, I saw that table was cleaned up just now with those delicious snacks. They didn't make you grumpy at all. So I think anyone who was grumpy before is no longer grumpy. So thanks to Kate and her partner. Is it Tim? I think it's Tim, right? Yeah. The engineering guy in the crew. So go say hi to Kate and Tim afterwards. And also just a quick thanks to Exnilo, to Capitalize, Alex and the crew, Zubair and so on. Whipping the Cat, just the most amazing legal services firm in the country. Digital Planet, We Grow SA, HP Store, Workshop 17, Baxberg, who serving up that delicious, very sumptuous wine at the back. They serve fruit. We've got the Baker Brothers coming in on Friday to deliver their own recipe on how they just grew this amazing brand. So that'll be coming soon onto the Heavy Chef platform. Good Leaf, we had Warren here recently, and he was just also amazing. Talking about the water that's being served up there. Parcel Ninja, Creed Living, amazing snacks, collagen and provisions that we provide to our community. And then Isaiah, the crew, the tech team behind the scenes here, who are just doing amazing work, getting not only a beautiful production here tonight, but also ensuring that the online audience gets an uninterrupted feed. Well, I hope so. I might be just staring at a camera there, but I have a feeling that it's all working swimmingly. Black Magic in Joburg. Eclipse Communication, just an amazing team. Jackie, Steve, Andrea, Jaylene, Mon and Nicole, the whole crew. Just an incredible communications company. And then also, just before I forget, we do have a prize tonight for the best question or comment. So just make sure that you contribute or interact in some way, shape or form. We have some actuarial scientists and chartered accountants from Bayport and Outsourced CFO that are going to collate and curate and go through all of the questions, and then they're going to confer and give me the answer of who did the best one. I'm actually talking shit, guys. That's actually not true at all. It's probably randomly going to be picked by Randall or Siyabonga at the end here, so if you be nice to them, maybe you'll get the prize. It is a flippin' awesome prize. It's packed full of Sally Ann Creed goodies and beverages and all kinds of good stuff. Books, maybe one signed by me, just maybe, and so it is certainly worth your while. And that's it. That's pretty much it for the preamble. I apologize for talking so long because I know we're here to get stuck into this topic. So I'm going to kick off with a couple of questions. First of all, just guys, it's so great to have you on stage after having interviewed you and spent some time with you capturing the course material for heavychef.com. So we have Uwais Asmal, who's, and forgive me if I get this wrong, but it's head of advisory services at Outsourced CFO. That is correct, right? Okay. And things move quickly nowadays. So it was a few weeks ago. So Andrea Klassen is the senior manager at Bayport Financial Services. Basically, two really, really smart individuals on stage tonight. And so we have a bunch of questions for them from the community, but also I want to ask you guys as well if you guys can, if you have any pressing questions already beforehand. I did hear some of you mentioning that there were some things that you wanted to fill. So just put up your hand, and there's a microphone over there. So you can come up and do the walk of fame, introduce yourself, and ask the question, and we will field it to our two professionals here tonight. Okay, that good? Everybody happy? Can we have one more warm welcome to our two speakers tonight? Thank you. And just by the way, I do have, and every now and then you will notice me looking at my phone. That's not because I'm just checking TikTok or anything, because I'm told that TikTok is a thing, apparently. I don't know. But that's because the questions are going to be fielded online as well. So if anyone's online and they are sitting with a pressing question, please just message on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/heavychef. And my very cool team will be WhatsApping it to me. This is the height of technology. So I'll be checking my WhatsApps every now and then. I've got all these devices stuck to me. So I'll be waving my arms around like that dude in Spider-Man. So, okay, guys. So the first question I want to actually field to Andrea, and we have some of your family here tonight. So I want to talk about family actually, and I want to talk about. I know that you grew up in a household of entrepreneurs, right? And so, what was that like? Did that infuse you with an enthusiasm for this amazing sector?
So my dad was in the sawmill business and my mom was a hairdresser. So growing up with two entrepreneurs, I saw a lot of sacrifice. I saw a lot of not seeing my mom because she had to make sure that the bills were paid. It was quite a tough environment for a child to grow in, especially when the main focus was to bring in money to the family. I remember my mom wanted to get my sister and myself also into the business, and we went with her on a Saturday morning, and I was actually the receptionist, and I dealt with the cash and I did the appointments, and my sister made tea. Because, you know, with children, idle hands is the devil's playground. So she made sure that we were busy. So I saw the hard work both of my parents put in to make sure that their business survived, and I took that with me. But I went a step further to understand, especially the financing of the business, because I saw with my parents, they didn't really understand, especially the cash flow. My mom, for example, her kindness, just understanding kindness doesn't pay the bills. Giving a free blow dry doesn't bring in food at the end of the day. Although she had a great service and people were drawn to her, those are just the small lessons that I learned that I wanted to, already at grade 11, take a small business management course at school just to understand how can I help my parents. That's how I was so invested into understanding and wanting to become a CA. Yeah.
It's amazing, and I think anyone who's been in an entrepreneur family will know that sacrifice that you speak of, because it's a time thing, right? It's a time and it's an energy thing, it's a passion thing. It's like you got to keep showing up every single day, right? And so I want to direct the next question at you, Uwais, and talk about just in terms of your love for finances. I mean, even in the interview that we did for the recipe on Heavy Chef, I mean, you could see it, like your eyes light up when you talk about money. I'm a creative guy. I struggle to get excited about spreadsheets, but you really inject so much passion into it. Like, where did that come from, do you think?
I guess I've always liked numbers. Numbers is always something I've been interested in. And believe it or not, there is a sexy side to accounting and a not so sexy side to accounting.
That jacket is pretty sexy, I gotta say.
So I mean, I've fallen into it by accident, really. I did the normal accounting career. I went into corporate. Didn't really. I learned a lot, and once I started helping SMEs, and you start seeing the impact that you make with SMEs, that's where like, okay, wow, you can have an impact, and that's where I really started enjoying it, because the little that I do here makes a massive impact on the other side, and being able to see the work that you do, if you can see the impact that it makes, that is what drives me, and that's what that I enjoy the most.
And I mean, I think you can see it just, we had Lo also on the Heavy Chef platform. Some of you will know Lo Barnett, and one of the partners and founders of Outsourced CFO. He also has that passion that he brings to the table for the sector, but also for the numbers. And just I think just jokes aside, there really is a sexy side to it. There's something that you can do with the numbers, and you can really, if you have that clean set of books, right, it enables you, it empowers you, and it sets the platform for such a far more powerful business, right? And I think, I mean, the flip side of that is that as entrepreneurs, and certainly we see it in our sector, you know, in Heavy Chef, we've got a fairly sizable community of SMEs and entrepreneurs. You see people making mistakes, and the mistakes in their numbers, the administration, tend to end up in a messy business, everybody chasing their tails. Can you talk to that? Can you talk to just the mistakes that you see people make, and just so that we understand, like, what are some of those obvious mistakes that we should be aware of?
If I take this one? Yeah. So the first mistake that I see people making all the time is that they manage their business only from their bank account. There's money in my bank account, I can spend. There's no money in my bank account, I can't spend. That's not taking into account that you need to pay payroll next week, or VAT next month, or provisional tax in 2 months' time. And you might think you have money in account and you start spending it, and then all of a sudden you need to pay tax and you have no money. And yes, you might have a great business, but cash is king, cash is oxygen, and if you don't have cash, you don't have a business. And that happens over and over again. And that's one of the things that I try to get my people to avoid, because it's, once you get into it and you fix it, it's done, but you need to fix it.
Can we dig a bit deeper?
Sure.
Cash flow, I mean, your recipe was about cash flow, right? Can we talk a little bit more about cash flow? Because it's easy to say, well, you need to be aware of it, you need to think about it. But what does that mean? Like, how, can you tell us how? Tell us, like, what is the dark secret of cash flow? Because, by the way, I mean, I chatted to some of the people in the room tonight. Cash flow is a thing. It's really a thing right now people are suckling with, you know?
It's not something like the secret of the dark arts or anything. It just comes down to planning. And some people try to, the problem is if you actively try to avoid it, they say, okay, I'm not so savvy at it, so I'm going to avoid it. And that's a big problem, because you're making a small problem a bigger problem. You don't have to be a genius, you don't have to be an accountant, but you need to know, you need to plan what you expect your inflows, money coming in, and what you're going to spend is going to be. And you can do that on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. You can help someone to do that for you. Because there's generally the same cash that you need to pay at the same time every month. You need to pay your employees at the same time of the month. You need to take your money out at generally the same time of the month. You need to pay SARS generally at the same time. So if you know that, you can plan. Yes, there might be something breaking and you might need to replace something, but again, that's out of the ordinary. You can plan for everything else and have a buffer for out of the ordinary. And you can follow a few easy steps and you should be fine.
The discipline of cash flow is like a mindset thing, right? It's certainly something that I've had to learn, even now, after being an entrepreneur for just on 20 years now. Just that idea of being able to not just make decisions based on gut feel, instinct, and whatnot, which is kind of what we do, right? Most of us are very creative individuals, and we come up with ideas and we implement them, we execute them, but we make mistakes not based, I think many of us, not based on those you know, the facts and the figures, but more upon what we want to do. And so that tends to get us in trouble a little bit, right? And I mean, you spoke about that in terms of what you saw growing up, you know, giving away free stuff, and you know, it feels good, it sounds good, but it's not necessarily healthy for the business, right? So, I mean, can you talk about that? Can you talk about reconciling that sort of psychological side versus the actual factual side?
It's a bit difficult, Fred, especially if you have a giving heart and you want to give back to the community. And you think that you're giving a freebie to get business. But when you're giving away stock that you've just purchased with the cash that you are getting from the bank, and you're giving a freebie, you're almost giving away your profits, you're almost giving away your money. So it's trying to find a balance between the two. If you are giving a freebie, maybe give it at a discount or at a sale, then at least you know you're getting money coming in as well at the same time. Yeah.
What's that saying at the airport or on the plane? Make sure your own mask is secured before helping anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's very philosophical and wise of you, sir. That is amazing. Whenever I fly from now on, I'm going to think of that in terms of a higher level. So, Andrea, I mean, if we can just stick with you for a bit and just talk, there were quite a few questions that came in about tax, right? And tax seems to be seen by most entrepreneurs as this kind of big evil, the big bad wolf, and they're just going to take my money and like, what are they going to do with it and whatnot. But like, I mean, that's not really true, right? I mean, every single country in the world, you have to pay tax. So potentially, could you tell us how we should think about tax?
So there's a quote, I think, by Benjamin Franklin that says, "There's nothing certain like death and taxes." So make peace that you have to pay tax. I know that it looks so bad now paying tax when you see the state capture, when you see load shedding. But guys, there's so many benefits to paying tax. Not only does the government give us, I want to say good roads, but infrastructure, and there's also so many funding schemes that the government has that gives us access to develop ourselves and empower small businesses, entrepreneurs. So there are benefits. But I know with tax planning, you don't have to avoid it, but there are rules and regulations where you can plan strategically to pay the least amount of tax. That's not a crime. It's just getting the right understanding of tax. Yeah.
And if I can add, paying tax is the result of having a successful business. All successful businesses pay tax. And you'll see, profitable businesses, agreed. And you'll see the people that don't, if you're trying to set up your business just so that you can pay the least amount of tax, chances are your business is not going to grow. It's just how it is. Think of it as, this shows that my business is doing well. Think of it that way.
So it's a stamp of approval if SARS comes after you.
Not if they come after you. You want to deal with them proactively.
Just tell me that that's true. I'm kidding. So, by the way, guys, if you have a question, just put your hand up, and then we'll get to you. So, can be brave. Remember, there's a prize in the mix here. Just saying. Okay, I see you. So, I have a quick question then. Actually, for both of you, but Uwais, I'm going to direct it at you first. Just in terms of, I mean, are there some, because financial management, again, it just seems to be, for many entrepreneurs, this kind of nebulous, amorphous world that we don't really want to go into. So get outsourced CFO to do it, you know? And can you talk to maybe some hacks or some ways that we could think about it that would be super helpful for us, particularly as SMEs and small growing businesses?
Definitely. So there's lots of new technologies and integrations out there that can help you save your time, because as entrepreneurs, your time is your most precious asset. For example, like when you're taking a client for coffee or you don't save your slip. Literally, there's things that you can just take a photo and send it to them, and it will automatically pull into your books. And then you never have to worry about it again. You don't have to keep a shoebox with slips. You don't have to ask people for invoices. You can automatically set your own email, even if you've got a Gmail. Every time the email comes from the supplier, automatically forwarded to the automation that will pull it automatically into my accounts. Then you don't have to send it to someone or pay someone to do that. Let the computer do it for you for free. And then you can pay less. Then you do get that person from Outsourced or somewhere else to help you, but the easy stuff is taken care of when you're paying for the more expensive stuff.
Andrea? That was a good one, right?
It was a very good one.
I'll tell you something, just a personal anecdote from my side, is that I mean, it must have been, I don't know, maybe 2015, 2016, when I first started hearing about Xero and what they were doing. And my friend Andrea actually was showing me when we went for a coffee, and I was talking about how onerous it was for me every single month, at the end of the month, I'd have to do my own personal reconciliation of claims. And you'd have to go through all the slips, and I'd keep this big-ass freaking wallet filled with all the slips that I'd kept, and they're all rubbed off, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, you can't read it, and it was just terrible. My whole organization was terrible. And so Andrew's like, no, dude, just look at this thing. And he showed me that it was like Receipt Bank or one of those early apps on the Xero store. And he just took a photo, done. And it was like in there, like magic. This thing just read the slip and went straight into the books and done. No muss, no fuss. That's pretty cool because it saves you that time, and obviously time for an entrepreneur is something that's really, really quite something. So we've got a few questions from the online audience. Okay, so here's one from Michelle. We've got what strategy should we use when cash flow doesn't go according to plan? So, in other words, people not paying their invoices, going out of business in the same month when your equipment breaks down. It's not an easy question, guys.
That's a difficult.
But that's why we have you here. So, I mean, by the way, there was actually 2 individuals in this audience tonight who told me that very same story, that they were impacted by people who they'd invoiced and suddenly said, no, we're going out of business. So do you have any reflection on that besides like that sucks? I mean, how should we think about such eventualities?
Happy to take that one. So you have to plan. Customers will pay late. You yourself are a customer, sometimes you don't pay on time. So you can think how that customer's thinking. When you do receive money, you have to put a portion aside. You have to have an emergency fund. You know how long it normally takes customers to pay you? Once you've been having your business for a year or 2, you generally say, and also you must agree terms. So you must have contracts with your customers that say you pay me in 30 days. You might not push that, but at least if push comes to shove, you've got, because sometimes yes, we agree at the back of an envelope, or we've had a nice meeting and you pay me, but you don't say when. Or you work with a government who pays you after 3 months, or a large corporate who can pay you after 3 months. But then you have to manage your payments so that you can make sure you can pay the bills in the meantime.
Just to add, you can also negotiate with your suppliers. So I know sometimes your customer may take longer to pay, but if you negotiate longer terms with your suppliers, or you tell your suppliers, I'm going to pay you early, perhaps you can give me a settlement discount. There's also other ways to navigate around getting more cash in your business, and also looking at your working capital, or your working capital, making sure that the days that or the time frame that you are receiving that cash, you can actually negate against, or when you have to pay your suppliers. So just understanding those days could go a long way, especially having cash in your business.
That's a great point. I think one of the hardest but yet most effective things as an entrepreneur to do is communicate. Just to communicate clearly and solidly, yes, and have those hard conversations up front. I think that's the most important thing, to set the terms up front. One of the biggest traps that we fall into as entrepreneurs is we get excited and we want to make the deal happen. And, we'll say, yes, whatever, like you don't have to sign anything, let's just do business and it's all happy. And, and then things don't go to plan. A couple of months down the line, things go wrong. And it's at that early stage, really, really, that you have to have those conversations, and it sucks. It really does suck. It's a horrible thing because you've spent so much time to develop the relationship, but yes, to have that conversation, you don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be, there doesn't have to be needle about it, but you do need to be firm. You need to be clear, and you need to be straight up, because if it carries on, it's your oxygen, right?
Yes,
as you were saying, it's your oxygen that just gets, and you can't move without that oxygen.
And if I can just add also, just from a proactiveness point of view, structure your business so that you get your money before you have to pay it out. Think of a simple thing like a supermarket. You pay them up front for when you go for groceries. They only pay those suppliers after 60 days, some of them. So they've got the money already, and they're sitting on the money, and then they only pay it afterwards. Think of your landlords where you pay them at the beginning of the month. So they get the money at the beginning. They only pay the costs at the end of the month. So they've structured their business so that they get the money in first before they have to spend it. And then you don't need an overdraft. You don't need, because that all comes at a cost. You're going to have to find that money from somewhere. So try and structure your business so the money comes in first before you have to pay it out.
We've got a few questions in the audience and 1 or 2 coming in online. So we had a question over here. Are you done? Okay, good. We have a question in the back there. Sir, do you want to walk up to the mic in your spectacular outfit and introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Björn. I'm a referral marketing specialist. I have this question: when scaling, if you're sitting with 3 options, do you use the bank, do you use a silent investor, or board of directors? In the context of it's the same interest rate, what is the best way to scale and why?
Uwais?
Oh, that sounds like a very specific question.
Yes. I've seen it on Uber. Yes.
There's no easy answer, but I
Okay.
mean, it depends. What is your relationship with the director? If you've got a
Yeah.
good relationship with the director and he's willing to give you money, but nobody's willing to give you money for free, whichever option you choose.
Sure.
They are giving you money because they are trying to make a profit or make a return,
Sure.
not your body. So they're not trying to help you, they're trying to help themselves, and they'll help
course.
you in the end. So, I mean, if they, chances are the interest rate's not going to be the same. But okay, let's play that out. If it's a director, he's probably going to want a or investor is probably going to want a higher interest rate, because why would I give you money if I can put it in the bank and get more? It's not a good business decision. So it's not likely going to happen. But if you can, it's difficult to say. Banks at least you know you can pay, like the director can come. Yes, you might sign an agreement, but you can always say, I need my money tomorrow, or
Right.
something can happen. Nothing's going to happen in the bank's life. But again, this is like, chances are you're not going to have the same interest rate. And if you can, just stay away from overdrafts, please. Because I don't know if some of you are paying 27% on your overdrafts. And that is scary. Like, please don't do that.
So your answer is go with the bank.
It depends. It
Just
depends.
to be clear for everyone who's waiting,
that's a
and the
question.
answer is
Yeah.
That's
We probably need a lot more context about
Okay.
this, which
Not financial advice.
this is not cash flow and finance. Did I get the wrong event?
So
It
can you have a
depends.
message for us just on the live stream, just to put like disclaimers below the answer here. This is not to be construed as financial
Sure, no, I get
advice.
it. Cool, thanks very much.
Thank you. Did you want to add to that, Andrea?
I think it depends. It's a big depend, because if you're going to invest or if you're going to partner with somebody, you also want to get the benefit of their knowledge into your business. It's not just about a cash transaction. For me, if I want somebody to invest in me, I want them to understand my story. I want them to understand my purpose. And then I'm going to go the extra mile to ensure that I make them profit as well as myself.
If I can maybe add one more
Yeah.
thing. Something to also consider is a lot of, whether it's an investor or a bank or somebody else, a lot of them want collateral. So some might want it on your property. If you're doing private investors, a lot of them want like unlimited personal surety, so they can come after anything. I'm not sure, I don't know if the bank does that. So again, you have to think about what do you have to give up to get that. Yes, you might be getting the same interest rate, but the risks are different, so you have to apply each one.
Yes.
Cool. We have another question. We've actually got a few questions. Sorry, sir, once there was a question here first. Do you want to step up and introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. Can
Hello.
y'all hear me? Okay, great stuff. My name is Jay. Me and my partner currently transitioned into publishing. But my question is mostly based on like financial technology, right? How do you feel that financial technology, or fintech for short, can impact the whole scope when it comes to like business and handling financial transactions? Because I'm a firm believer in always keeping things a step ahead of everyone. So what do you think the impact would be if we incorporated financial technology in how we manage money and how we manage transactions? And if we do incorporate that, what is the future within finance you see in the next 5 years?
Can I take that? I think that it brings me to that question of cloud accounting. Being able to be anywhere around the world and being able to access your finances. So it speaks to having the right technology in order, if your business partner is somewhere in Cape Town and you are overseas and you quickly need to check the financing, it's so important to have that technology. I'm just going to use a clear-cut example of Rocky. Rocky 5, my husband's favorite movie, where he didn't understand anything of financing, and he trusted his accountant. So you, especially as a business owner, need to have insights into, or need to also have access into the financing. So technology and financing and the fintech within around that is crucial for your business.
Agreed, and I would say it's even bigger than accounting. It's banking, for example. If you know, at almost merging technology with your personality. The one we mentioned earlier is obviously saving you time.
Yeah.
But let's say if you know you're not a good saver, setting up an automatic EFT to go to your savings account.
Yes.
because that suits your personality. If you are a good saver, you don't need that, but you can use technology to make the things that you're not that great at a little bit better. So use it because you can.
So I think also it's probably on the topic of fintech. What for me is really exciting is how all of these, in a sense, microservices are all connecting and interacting with each other. So you're starting to see the likes of Xero make partnerships with F&B, for example. That was fairly recent, where there's a seamless transaction of data that's starting to emerge, where everything just kind of links and syncs and, you know, it pulls through into the data that's then conveyed in very beautiful user interfaces that you can access from your mobile phone, as Andrea was saying, from anywhere in the world,
Yes.
right? And not only that, layered on top of that, you know, you've got your company with all its services like PayFast and Xero and so on that then all start to talk to each other, right? And I think what's really exciting about that is based on your behavior as an entrepreneur and how well you run your business, how disciplined you are,
Yes.
we're now starting to get into an era where very intelligent and actually quite cost-effective ways of accessing finance are starting to emerge through, you know, Capitalize, which is a partner of Heavy Chef, and all the various subsidiaries, the companies that feed into Capitalize, like Retail Capital and so on and so forth, that pre-approve you for finance based upon your turnover, the trajectory of growth, and so on and so forth. So it becomes really easy, actually, in some cases, like a click of a button, where you
Yes.
can access finance immediately for your company based upon your behavior and your future trajectories, right? I think that's something that I feel, you know, it could have a really big impact, certainly in this community and going forward into the South African region and Southern African region. So there's a couple more questions in the audience that I see. There's one more question online. So we've got a question from Tristan Shaw. Hey, hola, Tristan. So what approach do you recommend for early stage company valuation? So I don't know who wants to take this one, because this is a thorny one. Do you consider future cash flow, or should you price your story and vision too?
Can I take it?
Yes, go for it.
I think it's a combination, because obviously future cash flows, it takes into consideration your business and where you see your business in 5 or 10 years' time, because future cash flow takes forecasting into consideration, but also you need the strategy to drive your vision and your mission of where you want to take the business. So it's a combination of both.
I think it also depends on what type of business you've got. If you have a SaaS business, the valuation metrics are very different. So you have to assess each one on its merits. The other thing to remember is that just because you've done that valuation doesn't mean somebody's going to pay at that price. That's the start of negotiations. It's just so that you have a ballpark of where to start. And it's based on assumptions that investor might say, I don't think there's assumptions, and change it a little bit, and what does the valuation look like? Don't think, okay, the value says this and I want this.
Yes.
That never happens.
Also depends on how good of a storyteller you are.
Yes, yes.
Because there's some pretty good sellers out there. We had a question in the audience there. Go for it.
How's it?
Hello.
I was wondering, let's say you are a cash flow positive business and you have the ability to pay your suppliers late, and that cash balance that you have, even though I think it's a liability, but what do you recommend taking advantage of that, whether it's interest or any other recommendations?
That sounds like Pick and Pay over the years, how they've run their entire business.
So there's one way, especially now with the interest rates increasing, so putting that cash in a good deposit account or like a money market where you can actually earn that interest. And then when you're doing your books, you can actually set it off against that interest expense with the interest that you are paying on your debt. So managing that cash, even though you're paying your creditors late, managing that cash to work for you and your business. Yeah.
And maybe if I can add also just maximizing what you have. Because if you have a lot of cash, you can basically be your own bank, right? So you can decide, you have the ability to try different things and invest in different things because you have it. And that's a great position to be in. So use it to your advantage. Well done.
Okay, we got a ton of questions here. We have one question over there, which I saw. You had your hand up, ma'am.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Representing the ladies. Yes, yes. My name is Andrea from Kylie Cha, co-founder of a culture call center, which is a startup call center that's located in Kylie Cha. And the difficult part when it comes to cash is the fact that there's no necessarily credibility within the business because it's new. That's one. Two, it's located in Kylie Cha, and the market itself is mostly businesses that are in CBD areas and the huge businesses that have started years back. And one of the things that I encountered was that a prospect actually had a meeting and it was amazing. We were so excited, but now he asked me, why are you charging 4 times lower than other call centers? And as much as I told my story that we just started, we in Kylie Cha, we don't have a lot of overheads, and of course we just want to get our foot into the market. What are some of the ways we can use as a call center that's one struggling to have clients? Even if we get funding, it's going to be hard to sustain the business because to sustain a business, you need clients. So what are other ways, and going to the bank won't even help as well. Again, it's a question of credibility. How long do I have to wait to say I can actually go to a bank or ask for an investor or, have, be on Zero or whatever platforms that are tech platforms for finances? Where do micro business, I think I'm at a micro stage right now. Where do we stand with financing? Thank you.
Okay, I can start. When I think of your first question, if I'm not mistaken, how do you get your name out there for you to get more funding? Is that I'm understanding? So when I think of my mom, she started in a back room as a hairdresser doing hair, and nobody knew her. So all she had was word of mouth. So to start off with, if you don't have any funding to do marketing, word of mouth, getting the testimonials out there for your business in order for investors to trust you to give you funding. And it just starts with a couple. And then there's so much social media platforms out there. I'm just talking about free, starting at the very beginning, testimonials. We have Instagram. We have so many platforms out there to just get your name out there. So yeah, starting off small, I guess.
Just to basically what I agree fully with what she said. That first question is a marketing question. You're building your brand. You have to build your brand. It's, establishing sometimes the appearance of credibility is more important than credibility, if that makes sense. And if you appear credible, and it's not, if it's something that you believe in, things don't turn on a dime. They take time.
They take time, yes.
And you talked about how will that affect my funding. Once you can start proving that once you get sales, like for example, there's certain fintech lenders that all they do is they access your Zero, they see what your turnover is, they see what your profit is, and based on that, they'll give you funding. They don't care if you in Kylie Cha, they don't care if you're anywhere in the world, all they want to see is the numbers. And you should use that.
Basically, fake it till you make it. There's another way of saying
Something
that.
like that.
No, but maybe.
That's how we marketers say it. So there was a question from the very strapping and very talented Mr. Aaron Halevi. Can you do the Walk of Fame, please? And come and introduce yourself.
Well, you just introduced me, Fred.
You can introduce yourself as well.
Okay, well, I'm Aaron Halevi, and thanks for sharing your insights and expertise with us. And I see about the appearance of credibility. I like that. Trump's actual credibility.
All us entrepreneurs know that.
No, my question actually is around intellectual property. So I'm in the creative sector, and obviously one can value a physical property quite easily. There's maximum and minimum thresholds. But with intellectual property, it's much harder. particularly around, with music and film and
Yes.
photography, publishing. You mentioned publishing earlier. And a lot of us have intellectual property that we own and can trade, and just like physical property. And I'm wondering two questions. One is how you go about, from a financial point of view, leveraging that intellectual property, and also, just going on the question earlier, how do you go about evaluating or finding out what that intellectual property is worth? Thank you.
I can give this one a try. So, I mean, when you think of an investor, investors might know your business sort of, but they're not going to know your business better than you. Investors only care about, at the end of the day, what is the cash that this, whether it's a business or intellectual property, can give me. So they want to see a discounted cash flow. It might be difficult, but if you can prove to them, this is the profits that I can gain from this thing. This is, if I put this in intellectual property in this business bucket, this is what I can generate. And with investors, you almost have to, I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs who throw all the information out because they want to be honest, like, this is my business and it's my baby. But you put all that information there and it's too much information for an investor. Investors need high level because there's certain things that they look at very quickly. If you don't get their interest in that short period of time, you've lost them. So you need to pitch your valuation in an investor-friendly manner, not the way you see a business, in the way an investor sees the business. And that you probably need someone who does that on a day-to-day basis, because otherwise you're talking Portuguese to someone who speaks English.
We've got a bunch of questions coming in from online. One of them is from Ihsan Sali, and the question is, what is acceptable or advisable salary cover? 1 month, 2 months, a year? When does it become prohibitive to growth? It's quite a tricky question.
I can try.
Do you want to
that.
give it a crack?
I think especially with salary cover, especially since it's the largest line item in your business, it can literally cripple. And you've seen with COVID and all the retrenchments, what goes first? It's the staff. So having a good budgeting pattern or budget in place to almost make decisions. Can you employ that much staff? If not, can you deploy them in other parts of the business in order that you don't actually let go of staff and that you actually utilize that skill?
It's a good answer. Do you want to answer?
If I can maybe add, so you as a business owner structuring your own salary, and that comes down to a personal choice, because you might be, if you're not in a stage in your life where you need to apply for financing in your own name for a house or a car, having your salary at the minimum level that you need just to pay your bills in the meantime while your business is taking off. You can always pay yourself, if your business does well, you can pay yourself a bonus at the end of the year. Great stuff. But not having that same level of salary that you would at a corporate, especially if it's your business, because that's your baby that you want to grow. When it does take off, you can pay yourself the good salaries. But when you're starting out, also if you pay yourself a lot of salaries, you're paying a lot of tax. Pay a little bit, pay less tax, and your business, and you keep more of that cash in your business.
There's a few more questions from online. If you want a question in the community, then put your hand up. I just want to quickly, there's Michelle McNabb, I think, is actually in this freaking audience. So I don't know how it's coming on online. Somebody is in the audience watching us on YouTube, which is a proper, it's messing with my mind. But the question is, what is the best way to learn the basics of what you need to know in terms of finance in order to manage it appropriately in your business? I can answer that. Go to heavychef.com and look at the recipes by Andrea and Uwais, because you will learn so much there, and it's in bite-sized chunks. It's 2-minute videos, and it's awesome. So, and we have a question from Kate, Grumpy Snacks.
Hello.
Hello.
I think this is for Uwais. Am I pronouncing that correctly? So you spoke about, if you're paying tax, it means you've got a profitable business. So my partner and I fight about this a little bit. I mean, everybody wants to avoid tax to a certain extent, but I guess you often hear that, particularly in startup or early growth stages, you shouldn't be paying tax because you should be putting everything back into the business. If we're buying, say, machinery, the only way that's going to hit the income statement is through depreciation. So it's got to be an operating expense that's dragging that profit down. I don't really know. Is it true that if you're in startup or early business stage, you shouldn't be paying that much tax? Or I don't know if I'm framing this correctly, but basically, we are paying a bit of tax, and he's fighting with me about it, and I'm saying, well, if we want to be a break-even business, that's not what we want. We want to be making profits, and it's an unavoidable consequence. But why do we keep hearing that sort of narrative of if you're in the early stages of growth, you shouldn't really be paying tax? Or is it only Tim that hears that?
This is what we term heavy chef marital counseling. So we'd like to invite Tim up to the microphone
to share his side of the story.
And to share his side of the story. So guys, do you want to counsel?
So two things on that. So yes, agreed. Sometimes you're using your cash to invest in equipment, and that doesn't go off your income statement other than depreciation. So that's why it's important to have an idea of where your cash flow is. If your startup is making money, that's great. Like, why would you want to pay more expenses? Like, that means it can just grow. So that's one. The other thing is to take a step back and say, what is my long-term vision for this business? So if you are happy at this, some people are lifestyle entrepreneurs, and that's perfect. If you're happy at this level and it doesn't burn you out, pay the tax, take the profit, and be happy. You've got a great business.
Yes.
If you want to grow the business, you can still take the profit and pay the tax. But if you're going to grow the business, you're going to pay the tax. In any case. So
it's not about winning the fight. There's going to be a fight. So do you want to add to that, Andrea?
Just to add to that, I totally agree. You kind of like have to make peace with paying the tax. But when I think of the VAT, I don't know if your business is VAT registered, but find suppliers that are also VAT registered, because sometimes we have suppliers that are not VAT registered, and you end up paying the VAT over to SARS, and then you can't claim the input VAT. So make sure that at least you have a balance, and with startups you can claim the input VAT upfront before you start making the sales. So it's a balancing act, especially when it comes to tax, and knowing how to manage your cash flow, and also just to add, and also just to plan ahead as well. You know that if you have your company year end, you know in a year's time you have to pay, or you have to submit your tax return. You can almost forecast how much tax you're going to pay, and manage your business throughout, as well as with your provisional taxes, knowing when you have to pay those taxes, and managing your cash flow throughout.
And can I just add one more thing? If you listen to nothing else that I say tonight, just please listen to this. So, small business corporation tax. Like, if this is the only company you have and you don't own shares in any other company, make sure you're taking advantage of small business corporation tax, because you're not paying tax on the first couple of 100,000 of profits. SARS is actually helping you. They're like, we don't want to charge you, but some people are just, okay, it's a normal company and we're charging you 28%. Make use of small business corporation tax, and if you don't know, make sure you get an accountant who's getting you on small business corporation tax.
I think that's a really important point, by the way, is that many of us, we feel like we don't have the ability to do that stuff. Because you say the word small business corporation tax, and it's like, okay, that sounds amazing, but how? What do we do, and how do we do that? You know, it's like, I recall a long time ago, when I was doing all my own books, and I was doing all my own SARS and all the payments and everything, and I was doing it on Excel, and I was doing all the invoicing and everything. And eventually a friend of mine, who was doing some work with me and helping me out, she just took it all away from me, forcibly evicted me from my laptop, and said, dude, you're not touching this anymore. Because he showed me how to do it in back at those days. It's like 2005 or so. How to do it in QuickBooks. And it was so fast, so efficient compared to what I was doing, right? So the thing that I learned was stick to what you're good at and delegate the rest. And if you can't do this stuff, just find somebody. You have to. Being an entrepreneur, part of it is hustling to find the right people. It's actually not part of it, it's most of it, actually. You know, so find people who can help you with these things because it is so crucial to get that right?
Yes.
Stick to what you're good at and delegate the rest. Find somebody to help you. Because I think these things are so crucial to the health of your business that if you don't, not only are you going to actually lose money, but you're also going to lose time to make money, right? Because you just spend so much time, it takes so much longer for you to do these really almost impenetrable things, you know, and so you've got to structure your own time and your own team accordingly. So are there any more questions in the audience? Okay, I see a few hands. There was your hand's been up a few times. Ma'am, would you mind coming to the front? Only one question. I see you've got a list. It's just ground rules. One question per delegate.
Okay, good evening. My name is Manala Cole. I'm an entrepreneur. Well, I'm actually doing a few things. But we can agree that prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
And I think in South Africa we have a bit of a challenge, and perhaps the rest of Africa. I'm very passionate about education. And the question that I have tonight is, how do we even prevent? From what age can we start teaching our kids about finances? What recommendations would you make to the education system? Because it's interesting that finances are so important, but so many people don't understand finances.
Yeah.
Yet we usually say that entrepreneurship is the solution in South Africa, but I don't see higher education and other places making room to actually make space for that, so that people are actually being equipped from a young age in terms of finances to a stage where it becomes like a language to them.
Yes. Oh,
Good
I
question.
Love that
Thank you.
question. Can I take
Yes,
that?
please.
I love that question because education is what got me out of tough circumstances and being able to understand financing. So at a very young age, it's about teaching your child budgeting. It's about teaching your child saving. It's about already, when the child is born, I think F&B has it, open up a bank account. Instead of giving gifts, invest money into the child already at a young age. I mean, you can already start setting up shares for a child. And so the education part, especially teaching finance in South Africa being, especially consumers, so deep in debt and taking on debt to buy the nice things of what they see. So it's about challenging that energy of the child to understand how to work with their money at a very young age.
That actually is what I want to talk about. I'm trying not to be a conspiracy theorist, but the education system is not going to change for you to be better at tax. All around the world, governments make the most tax from employees because they charge the most tax. If you want your children or the people in your area, you have to teach them yourself. Don't expect the government to do that for you. You have to be the change. It might miss you, and that's unfortunate, but do for the younger people what you wish somebody had done for you.
Yes.
Sure, that's a deep,
That is
answer. Preach it. No, I think there's truth to that, and I think we have to educate ourselves, you know. By the way, that's actually what Heavy Chef is about, is bottom-up change rather than waiting for top-down change. Because reality is, you know, the entrepreneurs are the sharp ends of the stick. I have just a personal question, which I think is really important because I see it so often, people that I know, and in terms of separating personal and business finances, right? Some people would actually say that is an answer to this thing of, you know, of paying taxes and so on and so forth. And it's quite a thorny one because you're avoiding taxes in many cases, but also there's an ethical and moral component to it, right? How should we think about such things? I know that's a very big question, but is there some perspective that you could talk to?
I can answer that. I think with keeping the two finances separate, start with already opening up a bank account for your business separately and for your household separately. Because if you combine the two, you're trying to avoid SARS, and then SARS says, no, my darling, we're going to take that tax that you owe us out of your bank account, and then you're wondering how you're going to pay or feed your family. So already keeping those bank accounts separate and also tracking your finances. just because you are understanding and understanding the funds of your business, it's also important to understand your personal financing, because it also impacts your business. At the end of the day, your business is helping your family, but also your family is helping your business.
Agreed 100% with what you said, and if I can just add, treat it like a separate thing. I know it's your baby, and I know you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, but it's a different organism altogether. It has different rules. There's different people that can come after a business, that can come after yourself and your personal. So treat it that way. Once you start mixing it, you also confuse other people. If you confuse SARS, like she said, SARS will come after your personal money because you're not separating it. Keep it separate, treat it as two separate entities. Also, for example, if you one day, even if you just want to get financing for a car, it's hell of a difficult to get one if you say, here's my financials, here's my apps. They're like, I want to see salary at the end of the month, every month, and I know I can, they're more likely going to give it to a salaried employee. So I'm a salaried employee of the company that I own. But you just say, I'm a salaried employee. You don't say I'm self-employed. You never say you're self-employed to the bank. You say you work for the company, and then that's how you keep it separate.
It's a great answer, thank you. There's a bunch of questions from online. One of them is from Vanessa Bear Solomon. She asked, I'd love to know how VAT brings value to my company. So thank you, Vanessa. I don't know if we want to go there because...
Just make peace, guys. Your war with
make
SARS.
Peace with SARS.
VAT is to bring revenue to the government. Make peace that the government is using your money for good purposes, and make peace with that.
Controversial answer, but we have to make peace with it.
But again, think about it this way. You charge the money excluding VAT, and you add VAT on. The money that's excluding VAT is yours. The money that's including that VAT portion is SARS. It was never yours to begin with. Yes, it might pad your account and it might feel nice, but it's not your money, so don't treat it like it's your money, and it'll be safer that way. A lot of people think, oh, I've got this money, but actually that's SARS' money. So if you treat it as SARS' money, it won't harm you as much.
I imagine that probably about 50% of your time is saying just that to your clients. Why can't I spend that money? And you have to educate them over and over again. There was a couple of questions on that side. You have a question, Matt? Yes, yeah, go for it.
I really don't enjoy this walk of fame, but okay.
You're famous, you're in the lights.
So, just to follow up on your question about separating your personal and business finances, when it comes to assets, so I have a service-based business, so I don't need machinery. Literally, my phone, my laptop, my car, like, those are personal things, but I also use them for business probably 89% of the time. All of those things are in my business's name. And I keep my personal, I get the same amount of money as a salary every single month. It's really low, and I've kept it really low for as long as I can. Is that advisable, or would you say that I need to start putting things like cell phone in my personal name? Are you not allowed to answer that question? Sorry.
I could answer a little.
It's a good question.
Especially when it comes to SARS, make sure there's a clear line what's used for business and what's used for personal. Because at the end of the day, SARS can audit you, and SARS can actually come to your place and say, okay, is this your area of where you're working? And decide, okay, she is actually using the laptop for business. If you are using predominantly your laptop for business, then it's a benefit for you to claim that business expense from SARS, but make sure that you have a clear line if you are using those assets for your business, especially when it comes to SARS.
If I can add, some expenses are grey. Your cell phone, a couple of things are grey, so you need to be able to justify it, not beyond reasonable doubt, but to a reasonable ability that I use this mostly for work. So if it's in the name of, if your cell phone contract is in the name of a business and you can show I make these calls, like, so for example, if you run a digital company and you put in you don't have to travel for work, why am I seeing petrol going through your business? Because you don't travel for work, so you can't justify it, you know what I'm saying? So there has to be some reasonability in your explanation, because if it doesn't, then it's going to stand out. And also, SARS, like we're not the first people are always trying to get away from SARS. There's certain things that they look for. They're going to look for your personal car. They're going to look for certain things because it comes up a lot. So Don't try to swindle the system because they're already looking out for it.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, there is a part of it is there's a clear line, there's also a clear conscience, right? And I think there's the grey part, it's like you got to apply the tummy test, you know? Picture yourself in front of one of those SARS dudes and like, how does your tummy feel, you know? And is it something, if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. You know, I think that's a clear thing that we need to, we need not to skirt,
that, yeah.
you know? So, I see somebody's had their hand up right in the back there. I've got this big ass bright light in front of me. So the gentleman or the lady in the back there, I don't know. There we go, gentlemen. Can you please take the walk and tell us who you are?
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, sir.
I might be digressing or taking the conversation 10 steps back, but I just have to ask this. So for a mama that is selling chicken feet in Khayelitsha, how do we break down the concept of SARS and how do we emphasize the importance of SARS?
That's a great question.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you, sir. For somebody who's an SMME.
So maybe in that specific context, it's difficult. Also, chances are the money that she's getting in, she's spending out. There's nothing to track. Like, SARS, okay, we're being recorded, but SARS is not going to chase the mama on the street because it's not worth the money that they're going to get. You know what I mean? SARS is not going to want to take your food. It's not trying to take the food off your table. You know what I mean? So if she's got a growing business and she's got 4 people working for her, and then you need to consider if you're just living hand to mouth, SARS is the least of your problem. I didn't say that.
Uwais says you mustn't worry about SARS. No, but I think the point is really important, right? One thing and I saw you wanted to say something there, right? I think there's a thing of, we've got some horrendous stats in this country, and it is a very unique situation. I mean, we're sitting with something like 66% of the youth in this country, which makes up an extraordinary number. People between 18 and 24 years of age are unemployed, right? So that's a lot of people. But again, these are not individuals that are sitting around doing nothing. These are people who are selling on the street corners, who are interacting, they're curating, they're creating, they're engaging, they're transacting. They're doing stuff. They're not just sitting around looking at each other chewing gum. This is the reality of our situation, right? So the truth of the matter, there's a lot of money flowing hands. These are not unemployed people. They're employing themselves and they're doing stuff. And I think what I hope to believe that SARS is trying to empower those individuals by just leaving them alone for the time being. But I think that the fact of the matter is, as soon as you start charging tax and VAT, that's the line. That's not your money, right? So as soon as that happens, as soon as you put a little line item on your invoice that says, I'm charging you tax, right? Then you need to start thinking about it. Is that accurate?
Agreed. So just on that, what you mentioned, when you're starting to when your turnover, your revenue is 80,000 Rand a month, that's when you need to, consistently, that's when you need to start charging back. Going back to that mama who's selling something, that goes back to small business corporation tax. Chances are she doesn't have to pay tax if you use that, but she's probably making money in her personal name. So again, small business corporation tax.
Andrea, you wanted to say something?
I think just having those discussions now with mama, just preparing her now, already telling her, Mama, if you grow the business, you're going to have to pay tax. But there's so much benefits with tax. If she wanted to expand her business, you could actually say, Mama, if you expand our business, you know you have to pay tax, but we can also get funding from the government, and then there's various ways. If she does grow the business, like Uwais just said, with VAT, there is a certain threshold where she has to now start charging VAT on those items, but she can also claim VAT on the goods that she's buying. So, yeah, it's having those discussions early, almost preparing her, her mindset now that, Mama, we're going to grow this business, but we know that we have to pay tax.
There's a couple of more questions from the online audience. So I see Tristan, but again, I see Tristan in the audience. How are you doing this dark magic? So you don't have to do the walk. So this precludes you from the prize, just saying. Tristan asked, entrepreneurs already assume a bunch of personal risk. What are your thoughts on personal surety when taking on financing? How can entrepreneurs protect themselves? This is actually a fairly common question, right? It's something that I guess you have to explain often to your clients, Uwais.
Sorry, do you mind if I just answer one more question on what you mentioned about them? So let's break it down, right? We just said 80,000 Rand a month is the limit. So if you work 5 days a week, 80, that's 4,000 Rand a day. If you make less than 4,000 Rand a day on your turnover, there's no VAT. There's no VAT to worry about. And there's similar, you have these numbers so that you have similar numbers in when I need to reach a certain threshold. So you just tell Mama, once you get there, you need to worry. Before you get there, it's okay.
Yes.
Having that kind of conversation just to make it easier.
Yes.
And then just answering your question on personal surety. Oh, you go, and then I'll go.
It's a difficult one because, like, I know I came from a household where my dad used the house as surety, if I'm not mistaken. So you invest your whole life into this business, and you have your house standing surety because now you're investing your house into this business. So, especially with Outsourced also invest in you and invest in your story. So looking at the right insurance options as well, and paying and learning to understand to pay insurance for your business at an early stage upfront. Then you know you don't have to actually use your assets to try and fund the business if anything has to happen, especially with personal insurance.
Yeah, it's also a personality. There's a range of personalities that you could put into that question, from people who are high risk and who some people who are very risk averse, right? So it depends on your personal preference to a large degree. You have to come to the and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Tristan, a struggling entrepreneur. And yeah, sorry, the insurance component, are you saying you can insure against a claim for personal surety? So as an example, I'm an entrepreneur. It's typically quite difficult to get bank financing at a particular interest rate. So there are a whole bunch of businesses that provide debt capital if you're not taking on equity. And I decide I want to take on 500,000 bucks of debt capital. But pretty much all those companies require a personal surety signature, right? And as an entrepreneur, I have a family now, just as an example, and I'm trying to protect my family and my personal black box against risk assumed when taking on debt in a business. Are there mechanisms and tools and things to do to protect against that surety, or should you just be ignoring any form of capital financing that requires the surety signature?
A hectic one, because
Sorry.
it's a hectic one because I almost don't want to invest, or because of what happened with my household, I almost don't want to take on debt until I see cash in my business. Because I'm so risk averse. I'm sure Uwais would have a different idea, but just from my perspective, I almost want to see the cash first into my business and see the little bit of profits, even if it's in 3 or 4 years' time. At least you're protecting your family's assets, you're protecting your home, and that's first priority.
Like on one way, you might say, how much do you believe in this business? But I wouldn't risk the house because COVID can happen, and then what? So, and also you also need to know, yes, you might have this great idea, and you say, I need to raise 500,000. Based on your last year's turnover or your current turnover, there's a limit to what any financing company will give you. And you need to know what that number is. And they're only going to give you money if they think your business can take it. So they're not just going to look on what your future earnings are. They're going to say, what are your assets in your current business? They're not going to give you more than what your assets are in your current business because that's a risk to them. So if you do believe, like, a lot of the funding that we deal with, they ask for personal surety, and you're not going to get the loan without it. So people take it. And I can't tell them no. It's how much you believe in your, it's great if you have property. It comes down to you. It's your personal choice and risk, and you need to know what's the worst can happen, and how can I protect myself from the worst happening. The other thing also is that, yes, you want to change the world as an entrepreneur, but your business is also there to serve you, to serve your family, and to pay yourself money. You can't just be putting money into the business the whole time. It has to, because some people, yes, it's their baby, so they keep putting money in, but at some stage, money is going to need to start coming out. Otherwise you just have a passion project, you don't have a business.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think we are getting to the end of the session. I see there's a whole ton of questions coming in from online as well. So we could be here all night. I'm glad to see that there's engagement and interest, but we have run out of time. I do see there's also a flurry of activity from the people. All the Bayport and Outsourced CFO people are sitting in the back having a big fight club about who the winner is. And I see there's a whole bunch of suggestions, so I'm just going to let them fight it out some more. And I just want to say thank you, first of all, to you guys for coming out and spending this time to really intentionally invest in your own businesses and your own personal growth. I encourage you to stick around after the session, listen to some music. We're going to have Divine coming up here again and just play a few songs. We've got some beverages at the back there, and I see I'm getting waved at by my team over there. Sia's got the winner. Before I announce the winner, by the way, I just want a little shout out to our friend Divine. Just before he comes up and plays, he does have a Backer Buddy account. So if anyone wants to support Divine, you can go to Backer Buddy and just search for Divine Mahara and see the prize. The prize is getting locked and loaded. So just go to Backer Buddy and search for Divine Mahara, and you can support our friend. And please do stick around afterwards and listen to some of his music, enjoy some of the tasty beverages. Come and speak to our speakers. I'm sure there's some under the cover questions that people want to ask. Uwais and Andrea are here for you with all of those questions. And before I announce who it is, I see we do have a winner. I just want to just say thank you to our two speakers and give them a warm applause for their incredible input tonight. You guys are amazing. I loved your recipes on heavychef.com, and I loved your input and enthusiasm tonight. It's really great to see what you're doing for the sector, and such a privilege to be sitting on stage with you. So thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you to Payfast and Zero, our two primary sponsors of these events, and for your ongoing support. We see you guys, and thank you for the heart and for the ongoing just the love that you have for this community. It's really seen and felt. And so, without further ado, we have a winner. And it is, I hope I'm saying the name right. It's Manale Akol, who spoke about education. So can you come up? It's a very heavy prize. It's packed full of collagen and goodies. So thank you for that amazing question, and thank you to our two speakers, and thank you to you guys. Stick around, and we'll see you at an event coming up. Thank you.